Johnny Nichols here from J Property in Doncaster. Just do a quick video on a moving in checklist. So all the things you have to do as a self-managing landlord to comply with all the regulations when moving and tenanting. This is really important because obviously if something goes wrong in the tenancy, you can at least prove and have some backup, I guess, that you did everything legally, and so there's no confusion. You can go through a letting agent, and that's what a lot of people do because they don't understand all the things you have to do. But once you get your head around it, you do it once, you can obviously do it again and again, and then you can make a decision from there. So there is a lot, but it's up to you whether you're willing to put your time in to learn it or not. If you don't, then fair enough. Obviously go through a letting agent. Okay, so first thing on my checklist is a copy of the tenancy agreement that they have understood and signed. What I'd recommend doing is sending the tenancy agreement over a week prior before the tenants move in. This gives them a chance to look over the tenancy agreement and ask any questions about it, make sure they understand it so it's fair for everyone involved, so you can clarify everything. Don't just shove it in the face on the day and expect them to sign things. I don't think that's fair. I think you should at least give them a chance to sort of look over it. Okay, next thing is the copy of the inventory. So an inventory, all that is a fancy word for saying you go around and note down everything that's in the property, all the, I guess, the fixtures and fittings, things like that. Obviously, if you're just in a refurb and it's unfurnished, that becomes a lot easier. What I'd recommend doing in addition to that is a video. So video tours are obviously a little bit more clear cut, so if there is any dispute at the end of the tenancy, you've got that evidence as well. But yeah, try and make your inventory as detailed as possible, do it room by room, and just try and name down on the condition exactly what you've given to them in the property, and then hopefully that will avoid any disputes at the end of the tenancy. Yeah, on to the next one, sign and understood the electrical safety document. So this one is a recent one I did. So I did a rewire on the property, so I already had some documentation for that. But as of, I think, July 1st, there is going to be a legal compliance that all landlords give an electrical safety document. I think it should cost around sort of the £50 to £100 mark, and obviously, get qualified electrician, they'll go around and they'll be able to give you that document. Okay, next one is a valid EPC. So EPC sounds fancy again, it just stands for Energy Performance Certificate. What you can do is you can go into the EPC register, type in the house's postcode, and you'll be able to get that for free. They are valid for 10 years. If you want to do your own EPC, so for example, if maybe you put new windows in, things like that, and you think you might have upped the EPC, that can add value. So you can get an EPC done for around sort of £40 to £60 around that mark, or at least around my area in Doncaster anyway. Next, on to a copy of a gas safety certificate. So you will need a gas safe engineer to comply with that. A gas safe engineer, they do an extra test basically, and they'll have you can go onto the gas safety register and you can check if the gas safe as well, and they will go around and they will check any gas appliance like the boiler, maybe a hob, etc., and they'll give you a certificate based on that. This costs around sort of £50 to maybe £70 depending on where you go, at least around my region anyway. They can, when I had a recent one done, it was done instantly, so they can just give you it straight away by email, which is really good. And then you've got it, and you can print it out and obviously give it to the tenants to make sure the house is gas safe. Hey, you need to give the tenants a copy of the government's How to Rent guide. This is pretty pointless, but it's just a requirement the government have made you do. You get this from gov.uk, just Google it, it'll come up. It's just exactly how it sounds, a little booklet explaining how you're supposed to rent. Usually no one ever actually reads it, but you just got to give them it. Next one, a copy of the terms and conditions, prescribed information relating to the deposit scheme. Now this is really important. So you've got to protect the deposit. You can do this with 3 schemes. The one I use is what you call DPS. But if you just Google it and go on gov.uk, they show you the 3 options and they give you the 3 links, and it's really easy to do. You've got 2 options. You can either, I think it's called a custodial one and another fancy word for it, but all that means is either you keep the money in your account and you register it, or you send the money into their account and they keep it, and you register it that way. If you do the one where you keep the money, then you have to pay a small fee. I think it's £20 to £30 around that mark. If you do the one where you hand it into them, then you don't have to pay anything. I assume what they do is they get a little bit of interest off that money in the bank. What they'll do is they'll have terms and conditions relating to this, and you have to actually physically send that or give them a copy to the tenant, which of course they never read. My latest one was they managed to cram it all down and put in small writing, and it was about 6 pages long, but some don't, and it's like 20 pages long. So again, 20 wasted pages really, but that is definitely a requirement, so you need to do that. Prescribed information, right, that's just another fancy word, like a lot of fancy words in property. That just basically is the basic information of where the deposit is held, how much it is, the landlord's address, things like that. Usually on each website there's a very simple template. You download that and you fill it all out in. It takes a few minutes. Again, don't be scared off by fancy words. That's all prescribed information is. But this information, the terms and condition and the prescribed information is really, really important. If you don't actually give that to the tenant, then legally they don't have to pay rent. So really important to get right. To be honest, a lot of tenants don't know this, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't do everything by the book, so make sure you do. I've added a few more extra ones on there as well for me personally. Obviously, it's up to you whether you do it, but I took a photograph of the amount of keys handed over. This is obviously to solve any dispute down the line. Another thing I like to do is give him a copy of what I call the house information manual, even. And this just gives you a breakdown of everything in the house, especially all the most important things. Things like the stop clock, how the boiler works, the household appliances, insurances, their ongoing responsibilities. So, for example, like testing smoke alarms, replacing light bulbs, things like that. And I also give a list of their immediate responsibilities, for example, links to council tax, television license if they're going to get one, all the utility companies, things like that, links to there, which they have to do. Because a lot of people, especially if they're younger and they're moving in, they might not necessarily know what they've got to do. So if you can help them out in that regard, then that can help as well. Another thing, if you're selling a property unfurnished, I've put down here, I verbally recommend to take out your own contents insurance, because what you've got to do is you've got to insure the building, got buildings insurance, and that obviously insures the buildings, but it has nothing to do with the content. So if someone was to break into your rental property and steal something from them, then that's not covered. So I always recommend to them to get their own contents insurance out, which doesn't cost much, maybe £5 to £10 a month, if that. But it's definitely something worth telling them so everyone's clear at the start of things. Okay, and the last one I've put, which is a bit covered up, is I've seen and accept the electricity and gas meter readings that you've taken today. So you can take them in front of them, or you can just say, look, I've taken them, you're happy with those? And I get them to sort of check them, I guess, so there's no dispute when the company's contact and exchange. And then I just add a simple signature and date for the tenants to add on there. Okay, so as you can see, it's quite a lot of things you can do, but once you've got, you've done it once and everything's saved, I then sort of copy all the signed documents over and email them over across. Make sure you've got the permission, so if you sign a separate document for GDPR, that also helps as well. And pretty much that's it. If you have found this helpful, please let me know. If you think there's anything I've missed, then please let me know as well. Thanks for watching. Smash that like button and subscribe. Until next time, be there.